if you have been experiencing unusual dreams, you're actually not alone. Vlad, you brought this up last week to me, and you asked me if I was getting weird dreams. And I don't really dream normally, and so the fact that I am dreaming, I think, is probably pretty weird. There's a new, I guess, phenomenon, you might call it. It's called coronavirus pandemic dreams. You're actually not alone here. A lot of experts think that, once we're removed from our usual environment and our regular stimuli, it can encourage us to have these sort of odd dreams. So we're going to talk about that. We want to bring in psychologist Dr. Wendy Dickinson. Doctor, when you hear that people have been experiencing weird, odd dreams during this pandemic, is that surprising to you?
It's not a surprise. Our dreams come from our repository of unconscious things that we've experienced throughout the day. So if you think about it, like, we have these experiences, we've heard information, and it all goes into kind of a hall closet because we either haven't had time to process it or because it feels too distressing to process during the day. When we dream, our brain is working through all of those memories and that content and information. So it's not a surprise that we're experiencing these dreams that are filled with all kinds of things we wouldn't normally dream about.
So I guess, are there any meanings behind these dreams? I mean, are they related to our anxiety over the coronavirus pandemic, or are they just heightened because we're probably not doing our normal day-to-day routines? I'm just trying to get a sense of what this could all mean.
Yeah, so if you think about what we've kind of shoved into the hall closet that our brain is pulling from to process, it's usually either things that have been very distressing, information that we've taken in that feels too scary or anxiety provoking to process, or it's things that we've heard that we just haven't had time to process. So with all the new stimuli that we're exposed to around the statistics and the what ifs and the cases that we've heard about on the news, all of that is in our unconscious. And so the brain's way of processing that is to pull it into our dream world. And so you might see specific themes show up around illnesses or sicknesses, or you might see a more symbolic representation. So people are dreaming about monsters or zombies or bugs because a lot of what we're facing is intangible and invisible, and it doesn't have a representation. So we see that more symbolic form show up.
I'm dreaming about people that I don't interact with very often in real life, but I do interact with on social media. So I guess it sort of makes sense because that's kind of like my new circle of friends, right? We're going back and forth on social media. And in fact, I had a dream about somebody last night. Also dreaming about zombies, but Vlad knows why. Are there certain people that are more likely to have these kind of intense dreams?
Yeah, I think if you have the chance to be able to process some of this information, this what's been stored in your unconscious before you go to bed, you're less likely to be in this active stage of processing while you're asleep. So even if you take a few minutes and do some journaling before you go to bed, or think through and kind of process what happened during the day, what did I notice, how am I feeling, it helps to be able to unlock some of that so that you don't have so much stored up going into your dream state.
So doctor, have we seen these types of dreams, this pattern of dreams happening to individuals after traumatic events in the past?
Absolutely. Almost every single time we have a traumatic situation where somebody either experiences it in person or vicariously through the news media or through other stories, you see this kind of traumatic dream content show up. One of the things that we're seeing right now is that healthcare workers in the medical industries that are interacting with patients are having a lot more vivid dreams, specific dreams around the content of the coronavirus, which makes sense because they're interacting with it on a day-to-day basis. So it's not one step removed, it's in their immediate world.
So here's a question, because this actually happened to me the other day. I was having basically a nightmare, and I must have been really loud because my husband woke me up, and I was really grateful because it was not a good experience. But I'm wondering, if you are having a nightmare, should you try and sort of wake yourself up, or should you wake somebody else up if they look like they're kind of having a traumatic dream? Or is this something that the brain kind of needs to work out?
It's okay to wake somebody up. It can be actually really helpful to be woken up from those difficult dreams. What happens is that your brain will continue to process in smaller increments. So one of the things that we find is that if you're waken up either by someone or you wake yourself up in the middle of a dream, if you can finish the arc of the dream out, it helps while you're awake. It helps your brain to be able to process. So one of the things that we know is that you don't actually have to process it in a realistic way. You can end it in kind of a fantastical way. So you imagine that maybe you grow wings and fly away from the zombies that were attacking you. It sort of helps your brain to find closure in that. It doesn't have to be realistic.
Yeah, when I have written down my dreams in the moments after I wake up, and then I go back to bed, and then when I get up at my normal hour, doctor, I look at what I've written down, and it seems like I've been dropping acid because it doesn't make any sense even to me. And I sometimes wonder if even when I'm writing them down, I wasn't dreaming as I was writing them down in the middle of the night. So yeah, I found that can be sometimes helpful to figure out what's going on in the brain when you're at rest.
Absolutely. It's also interesting. All of the research shows that a lot of our brain waves as we dream are similar to when people are on drugs. So you're not far off in feeling like maybe there was...
Not that I've ever dropped acid. That's what I've read about that. I've read that could be the case. Dr. Wendy Dickinson, thank you so much. Really informative. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.